My name is Sarah, and I'm 39 years old. I live with my husband, Imran, and our two children, Aisha, who's 14, and Hamza, who is 9. From the outside, people think we're a normal, happy family. We laugh at the dinner table, we take photos on holidays, and our neighbors always say, "You all are so perfect together." But that night changed the way I looked at everything. It was 1 a.m. when I woke up to get a glass of water. The house was silent, the kind of silence that usually feels safe. But as I passed the living room, I heard a quiet, muffled sound, like someone crying. At first, I thought maybe one of the kids had a nightmare. But when I turned the corner, it was my husband, sitting on the couch in the dark, his face buried in his hands. I froze. He didn't see me. For 17 years of marriage, I had never seen him cry. Not once. He always acted strong, like nothing could shake him. The next morning, I didn't say anything. I waited, hoping he would talk to me himself. But he smiled like usual, packed his bag, and left for work. The whole day, my mind kept replaying that image of him in the dark, shaking silently. That evening, after dinner, I sat in the kitchen while the kids went to their rooms. I heard his footsteps, slow and tired, and when he saw me sitting alone, he understood. He didn't even try to pretend. He sat down across from me and said, "I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to scare you, but we might lose the house." My heart dropped. He told me his business was failing, debts were piling up, and he had been hiding everything for months. He wasn't cheating, he wasn't planning to leave, he was scared. For days I was angry, not because of the money, but because he carried the pain alone. I thought of our children, how safe they always felt here. I couldn't let fear destroy that. I went back to doing something I stopped years ago, baking. I started taking small orders from people in the neighborhood. My daughter helped me package the cakes, and my son stuck handwritten notes on the boxes that said, "Thank you." Something changed in our house. We didn't feel broken anymore. We felt like a team. My husband found the courage to talk to his brother and asked for advice. Instead of hiding, he involved us. We cut down our expenses, sold a few things, and for the first time in a long time, we ate dinner with honesty. One night, when the kids were asleep, he looked at me and whispered, "I thought I had to protect everyone by staying silent. I didn't know silence could hurt more than the truth." We didn't fix everything in a week. The debts are still there, the house is still at risk, but the fear isn't hiding in the dark anymore. And sometimes that's enough to keep a family standing. A few weeks later, something unexpected happened. It was a Saturday morning, and I was in the kitchen kneading dough, while Aisha decorated cupcake boxes. Hamza was sitting on the floor drawing superheroes with aprons. The doorbell rang. I wiped my hands and opened the door. It was our neighbor, Mrs. Khan, holding a small notebook. She smiled and said, "I heard from my sister that you're taking cake orders. Can you make something for my grandson's birthday?" I agreed, thinking it was just one order. But the real surprise came after. She posted a picture of the cake on Facebook with the caption, "Best homemade bakery in town, and it's inside my street." By evening, I had 11 messages from people I didn't even know. Some wanted cupcakes, some wanted pastries, and one lady asked if I could make a 3-tier anniversary cake. I laughed when I read it. I never thought I would do that again. That night, I told Imran about the orders, expecting him to worry. Instead, he smiled in a way I hadn't seen in months. He said, "Maybe this house will save us itself." But it wasn't just about money anymore. Something subtle was changing inside our home. Aisha, who used to lock herself in her room and scroll her phone for hours, started sitting with me in the evenings. She asked questions like, "Ami, when did you learn to frost cakes like this?" I told her stories before she was born, stories I never thought mattered. She started telling her friends at school that her mom runs a bakery now. Not used to, but runs. Hamza surprised us in his own way. One afternoon, he came to me holding a crumpled paper. He said, "Mama, I made a menu for your shop." He had drawn uneven boxes and written things like Chocolate Delight and Happy Muffin. The spelling was wrong, but his pride was perfect. Evenings became louder again, with laughter, with burnt edges on cookies, and flour on the floor and frosting in our hair. The house that once felt heavy started breathing again. Then one night, while we were packing a big order for a school event, I noticed my husband watching us. Not with sadness, not with guilt, but with something else. Gratitude. His eyes were tired, but no longer afraid. He stepped into the kitchen and said, "Let me help." And for the first time in months, we stood side by side, doing something together, not fighting a problem, but building something new. That night, after the kids fell asleep, he sat across from me again, the same table where he once told me his biggest fear. Only this time, he held my hand and said quietly, "I thought I was failing alone. I didn't know we could fight as a family." I didn't respond with big words. I just said, "Next time, don't fight alone." And somehow, that sentence felt like the beginning of something we hadn't had in a long time. Hope. A few days later, Aisha came home with something in her hand. I was cleaning the counter when she placed a colorful brochure in front of me. "Ummi, my school is having a small business fair next month. They're asking students to present a family business or a product. Can I present our bakery?" For a moment, I didn't answer. Not because I was unsure, but because my throat felt tight. This was the same girl who used to avoid telling anyone about our problems. Now she was proudly calling it our bakery. We spent the week preparing. She made a poster with pictures of cupcakes, brownies, and birthday cakes we had baked. Hamza helped by sticking glitter stars all over it, even on things that didn't need glitter. He said, "Customers like shiny." The night before the fair, we were all sitting together testing frosting colors. Imran was trying to write "chocolate heaven" on a cookie, but his handwriting looked like a doctor's prescription. Aisha burst out laughing and said, "Abu, no one will buy this. It looks like the cookie is sick." For the first time in months, we laughed without forcing it. The next morning, at the school fair, something happened that none of us expected. Parents and teachers stopped at Aisha's stall and asked questions like, "Who makes these? Do you take orders? Where are you located?" A woman in a green scarf asked for a visiting card. I didn't even have one. I wrote my number on a paper napkin and prayed the ink wouldn't smudge. By the end of the day, Aisha had collected 7 orders, and more importantly, a confidence I hadn't seen in her since she was a child. On the way back, she sat in the car smiling to herself. I asked, "Are you tired?" She said, "No, I just feel proud, Ummi, for us." And in that moment, it didn't matter how small our bakery was. It didn't matter how many problems still waited outside our gate. For the first time in a long time, we were moving forward, not with fear, but with each other. That night, as we cleaned up the kitchen, Imran whispered to me, "Maybe Allah didn't close a door. Maybe He turned our house into one." I didn't say anything. I just looked at my hands, covered in flour, sugar, and hope, and realized something quietly powerful. Some families break in storms. Ours baked through it. Months passed, and what started as a small attempt to survive slowly turned into something bigger than any of us expected. The dining table became our packaging station. The old cabinet that once held tea sets was now filled with baking trays, ribbons, and sprinkle jars. Aisha handled social media and wrote captions like a professional. Hamza managed delivery calls and bills. Even little Hamza became our taster and official sticker presser. One evening, while I was finishing a batch of almond cookies, the doorbell rang. Imran opened it and returned with a package in his hand and a strange look on his face. "It's from the catering company at the hotel, the one that didn't hire you," he said quietly. I wiped my hands and opened the envelope. Inside was a printed letter and a business card. The letter said they had heard about our bakery from one of their clients and wanted to collaborate for custom desserts and bread. For a moment, I stood there frozen, not because they rejected me before, but because life had brought me back to that same door in a different way. But this time, I was not a desperate applicant. I was an owner. That night, while everyone else was asleep, I went to the kitchen. I sat on the little stool near the counter, the same spot where I used to cry quietly when no one was looking. I looked around. The shelves my husband once put up with his own hands, the oven we bought secondhand but treated like treasure, the tiny window where Aisha used to sit with her homework. There was still pain. There were still unpaid bills and worries we didn't speak out loud. But something had changed.
We were no longer standing on broken pieces. We were building with them. The next morning, I called the catering manager. I didn't speak like a frightened widow looking for a job. I spoke like someone who had learned to rise without noise. "Yes," I told him, "we can take bulk orders. I'll send you our price list." After the call, I stepped outside and watched the sun climbing the sky. It was quiet, but not empty. My husband's chair in the yard was still there. For the first time, I sat on it without tears. I closed my eyes and whispered, "We're doing okay. You'd be proud." And I knew, even if life would never be the same, it was not over. Because sometimes a family doesn't fall apart when one person is gone. Sometimes it learns to breathe again, with fewer hands but bigger hearts. If this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you never miss the next one. More emotional stories are on the way. Stay with us.